Malaysia's first Formula One race began in 1999, and since then it has been Malaysia's sole global sporting event. It is in fact Malaysia's marquee sporting event. But global population and global attraction to F1 has been declining. And while MotoGP is still as important as it ever was to Malaysia, it too is not the global sport that F1 is. So to counter and to try and diversify its revenue from just pure motorsports, Sepang International Circuit's Datuk Razlan Razali was on hand to talk to us about his 5-year master plan. Datuk, welcome. Now, of course, let's start with Formula One. You run the first. Actually, Malaysia's had a race since 1999.
That's right.
A fantastic event. It's been running ever since then. But globally, F1 is declining in popularity. That's a given. What's the strategy in terms of Malaysia's approach to keeping it vibrant?
Well, number one, we requested for date change.
Right.
Traditionally, we are in round 2, which is always in March or early April.
Right.
For the first time since 2001, we've shifted down to October, 2nd of October this year.
That would make it kind of like near the end of the race, and
correct.
It comes down to the wire kind of
That's
thing.
right. Yeah, I think round 16,
Right.
17. Well, still a few more races to go because
Right.
it's 21 races this year. But 2 weeks after Singapore, which we hope will give us some time, much more time to promote and get the crowds back into F1, to the track.
But Malaysian attendances have been dropping through the years, yeah?
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
it's in line with the global trend.
Correct. It's been dropping since 2014. In fact, I mean, the Formula One, the problem with Formula One existed before that. But it made it worse during the MH 370 year.
That's right.
And of course the MH17 as well, you know. So
Does it hurt that Malaysia follows Singapore? Should it be ahead of Singapore?
well, I mean, when Singapore was introduced in 2008, nearly 30% of our Singapore audience left us. But I think they're slowly coming back.
The thing is, a lot of my friends who've been to Singapore, they said it's a party, it's 2-day, 3-day party, you know, blah, blah, blah. But in Malaysia, it's situational. You go there and then you go home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, the feedback that you get is that when we ask people who goes to Singapore what they think about the weekend, yes, like you say, parties and all that. But when you ask about Malaysia, it was an awesome race.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a
it's
big,
all about the
big
racing in
difference.
Malaysia, right?
Yeah. So sometimes you have to weigh, which is why do you go to these races, to watch the race or watch concerts? You know.
Yeah, that's right. But so the SIC right now is profitable, has been since 2009, as you just said. But in terms of F1 by itself, is it the jewel in the crown for SIC, or is it no longer is?
It is, still very much relevant and main contributor to our bottom line, to our revenue. It represents nearly 40% of our revenue.
Right.
Of course, motorsports related is about 90%. It's motorsport related revenue, which 40% of that is Formula One.
Right.
So it is very important for us.
Yeah.
But then again, we don't think for ourselves. We look at how F1 can still contribute to the economy.
Right.
And the last economic impact study that we did in 2013 by PricewaterhouseCoopers indicates a return of positive 3 times.
So do you get the sense that Malaysia will want to renew with Ecclestone beyond? I think this is the last year, isn't it?
No, last year was the last year. So
Yeah,
this
it's
is
been
this is a new, from 2016 is a new extension,
Right.
but very short one, only 3 years.
That's right.
We advise the government that, you know, let's not give it up totally.
It's still a multiplier, right?
It is. I mean, unless we can find a similar event or something that can bring the same kind of exposure or better, you know, but there isn't.
Outside of the World Cup or the Euros.
Yeah.
But Dato, let's move on to MotoGP. And I mean, clearly the MotoGP trajectory is increasing in attendance.
Yeah.
But it's not the global sport that F1 is. So that's the other marquee event on your calendar.
That's the perception. But if you look at the statistics, it's nearly the same. It's
in
just
terms of attendance?
No, in terms of global exposure.
Right.
Okay, it's everywhere.
But the dollar value is not. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because the F1, I mean, Bernie Ecclestone's done an amazing job.
Correct.
But not necessarily so with MotoGP.
Correct. But yes, as you said, the spectators has been on an increase nearly every year.
Right.
And being so, MotoGP has been longer in Malaysia. It's 27 years.
That's right. That's right.
You know, so in the last 5 years, it has been crazy.
So local talent development. I mean, I've been to some of the races.
Yeah.
We've got fantastic riders
Yeah.
here, but not nearly as much fame, you know, that Jorge Lorenzo might have, or Max Biaggi might have. Showing my age.
That's the formula of success with MotoGP. I mean the trick is, well, it's not a big secret. It's once you put a Malaysians in a world championship, you know, the locals will follow. It's just like football.
But outside of the Petronasos of this world, who's going to sponsor a local rider? Because, you know, the reputation is
you're right. But in the last 5 years in MotoGP, for example, I mean, we started the ball rolling in 2010. Then you see Petronas follow suit in 2011 with Hafiz Sharin. Last 2 years, you had Bonsiu Honda coming in with a rider. Then we have another Malaysian team who made an attempt but failed. But not many out there. But at least, you know, if we are the driving factor of it, why not? You know, I mean, we need to showcase Malaysian talents.
So here's the thing: financials wise, SIC is doing all right, but it's got its own task in terms of broadening the non-motorsport revenue. Now you've got a 5-year plan. What does it involve?
Well, number one, we do not want to be independent, to be dependent on Formula One and MotoGP in terms of revenue. So we need to look beyond that. And the best way to achieve growth, double-digit growth especially, is to develop the current land bank that we have.
That's right.
So we are looking at positioning SIC as a multifaceted venue, number one, an edutainment destination. Whereby
edutainment as opposed to entertainment.
Yes, education and entertainment.
So
education part comes in developing skilled individuals in the area of motorsports. You know, we're in the midst of planning for a center of excellence for people to learn the mechanics, the engineers, and so on. And the entertainment part is where we have theme parks, amusement parks, specific
that's going to require a lot of dollar.
Oh yes.
So the thing is now, SIC has about 300 hectares of land. You only use about 30 hectares of that, which is about a tenth. And then the land though belongs to Malaysia Airports, right? Clearly. And what I understand from what you've told me before is that the Ministry of Finance has an option to buy that land from MAB within 3 years.
Correct.
Now, if they don't do that, they will then be having to reimburse MAB with about half a billion ringgit, right? So how does it all interplay with what you have to do in terms of your 5-year plan?
Well, we want these matters to be resolved as quickly as possible, because if not, then we have a problem in raising the necessary funds and attracting the partners and so on. But there are other options that we are looking into right now, like development rights and so on. And as and when it happens, where MOF acquire the land or automatically transferred to them, then it benefits us anyway. It will come back to SIC. But it will not disrupt some of the plans. Of course, the bigger components like hotels, theme parks, entertainment centers and all that, I mean, those require a huge amount of capital. But we are looking at the various quick wins first. So we already initiated our motorsport business park, our driving facilities. That's all currently being done as we speak.
So it seems as if this is like a black and white situation. Either you come into a very blue sky scenario, or you run into something which is obviously very convoluted and very complicated, and then maybe in 2 or 3 years' time, there's a global recession as well. So what is your sense of where you are now from a fiscal health perspective?
Well, I mean, from what the feedback that we receive from various banks is that as long as you position yourself as a tourism destination, as a tourism interest, there will always be funds.
Committed funds.
Yes, committed funds. Yeah. I mean, sitting on the board of our directors is the KSU of Tourism, Tan Sri Ong, and he advised us of all this. You know, so but again, as we say, the land issue is a technical issue for us. But that doesn't mean that we can't move forward and go ahead. There's a lot of case studies out there where land belongs to somebody else and all that, but then the development rights of it
reside somewhere else.
So there's always an option. It's just a matter whether we are ready to go out and get that necessary funding right now. And we're not ready. We're going through all kind of feasibility studies right now. But like I said, we're looking at all the quick wins first.
Well, I'm sure when it comes, it'll be fascinating, and we all of us Malaysians look forward to it.
It'll put SIC at a totally different perspective.
As can be seen then, Datuk Razlan's admission that the land on which the SIC sits might be sold to the Finance Ministry within 3 years. And I think that is the one sole blip, potentially, in terms of SIC's plan to see out and execute on its non-motorsports revenue. If he does get that land, and if he does get to execute his huge plans in terms of the edutainment centre, in terms of the motorsports, in terms of the non-motorsports and all the other associated events with it, I'm sure SIC will be a fantastic place to visit and enjoy motorsports in the near future.